The more artistic we can be, the more liberated we can be, the more free we can be. If freedom and liberation is a goal of mine, as I bring it for myself, I just want it for my brother, I want it for my sister, I want it for the people around me. I want freedom for them as well to express their uniqueness because I want to see it. Your individual expression is inspiration for my individual expression, inspiration for that person's individual expression, and it aids in the freedom and the liberation of all of us. If we're afraid of our own voice, then our innate wisdom, the wisdom that we possess that's connected to the higher aspects of our being can't flow through. We have to exercise it and allow it to just, falter and, say something stupid, be off key, so you can explore the dynamics of your unique voice.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? We've had some pretty intense lunar eclipse energy this week. An eclipse of the moon is when the Earth is directly between the sun and the moon lies in the shadow of the Earth. For us, it helps us to get deeper into the shadow of our psyches and into the parts of ourselves, our patterns and our emotional life that we usually reject. As we integrate these parts, of course, we heal. I always find it quite fascinating to know what's going on with the moon and what our collective opportunities to heal are. I'm in Devon in the UK at the moment, preparing everything for the launch of Presence Collective in a couple of weeks, which is a new online community I'm hosting for creative, connected, and conscious living. Basically, we'll dive much deeper into the themes of this podcast, but in a much more thematic, integrated, and embodied way, with practices that go alongside it. If you want to find out more about joining this, then please go to our website and click on courses, and feel free to get in touch and ask any questions. Thank you as ever to each one of you that listens, shares, and supports this podcast. I feel really touched to know you all and be part of your lives. The Patreon community is coming together more and more, so if you want to join our WhatsApp group and our monthly calls, please become a monthly patron. You can give anything from $2 a month to whatever feels appropriate to you. I received a note from a listener this week to say that they're really enjoying my poems and reading them in their meditation groups. I've just been writing for fun and sharing some of them on social media, and thought I would take the opportunity in line with the theme of this week's episode to share one with you here. Don't fear what the future holds. Instead, listen with an open heart. And each time you meet something that brings up that sadness, that fear, that anger, allow your heart to break open even deeper. For your heart is bigger than even you yet know, and your capacity for life is stronger. You are here at this time in this place because you know. You know where we are going, and you know where we've been. You know what we're dreaming, and you know what we've seen. And this is the time to bridge that gap. And we can only do it if we all rise up. So don't be afraid and don't waste your time in sorrow. Instead, hold the pain and find tomorrow. Find that place where you open even more and you let the beauty of everything soar. For you are the gift and you are the key. You are everything you need anyone else to be. You are the light and you are the heart. You are the breath that moves that apart. And you are the breath that moves us together. And you are the truth, always and forever. Those words came to me when I was in Bali under the full moon a couple of months ago, which is actually when I did this interview. My guest this week is Kamau Abayomi, who I met a few years ago at Bali Spirit Festival, and whose performances I'm always moved by. We had a great conversation where we talk about Black divinity, the projections of race, the relationship between arts and activism, as well as the creative process. For the last 25 years, Kamau has lived, performed, and taught as a multidisciplinarian who shares his spoken word poetry, DJing, music, choreography, rap artistry, literary works, expanded spiritual perspective, and workshop sessions with the intention of inspiring and activating others into the awareness of their own innate power. There is a clear and rich esoteric component in his being and expression. I hope that you enjoy this conversation. Welcome to The Future is Beautiful, with me, your host, Amisha Gadiali. On this show, we explore the weave between politics, spirituality, creativity, and sustainability. It's time for us to move beyond silos and into an integrated way of being. Every one of us has ideas and personal experiences to share that can lead us to a brighter future. This is the revolution. Despite the challenges we face as a global community or the pressures that we meet in our daily lives, when we stop and dare to dream, to ask ourselves the big questions, and to share what we are already doing, we create the future that we wish to wake up for. That future is beautiful. I am delighted to be joined here by Kamau. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I saw you perform on stage at Bali Spirit Festival last year, and it was a very stunning and beautiful performance that really moved everyone watching. And I was with some people that have known you for a long time, and there was this huge sense of pride. I think they hadn't seen you up on stage perform in that kind of way before. And I felt then, you have this way with expressing your voice and sharing in a way that's so relevant to what's happening in the world today, that puts into words maybe things that many of us feel and don't know how to express. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, I really want you to be part of this show. So I'm really pleased that it's happening now.
Yeah, thank you for extending the offer for that too.
Of course.
And for witnessing too, for being there for that moment as well. It was it was a powerful moment, not only just in terms of the offering for those who are there, but also for myself on my own personal journey. It was very potent, and yeah, thank you for being a part of it.
Of course. Can you share why it was so potent for you in your journey, so we can bring our community that are listening a little bit closer into that moment?
Yeah, sure. So that particular presentation was a culmination in terms of moving from one phase into the next. It's still ongoing. That was just really an initiation into the next phase of things. And it was the culmination of a prior initiation that took place a year prior to that presentation. So it was very much a ceremonial initiation, not just a performance in the sense of like, yeah, here's my songs and some poetry and music. Yay. It started a year prior to in Nyepi. And in Bali, we have Nyepi, which is the Day of Silence. And a year prior to this presentation, I was spending Nyepi on these temple grounds. A friend of mine who lives here in Bali, his family has a temple grounds. His father was an architect. His father, I think he's made his transition already, was an architect who built temples around the island. And so he built this particular temple strictly for his family. And it was beautiful, overlooking this gorgeous ridge, about a half hour or so northwest outside of Ubud. And so myself and maybe it was maybe 15 to 20 other people were spending Nyepi on this island, on this grounds. And myself and maybe, I think it was 4 other people observed silence that day. Everybody else was just kind of chatting and doing their thing, right? I was like, nah, I'm gonna tune in. And so I spent the day going to the different temple areas that were on the grounds. And I went into the main one where they have the main offerings that they give. And I just started doing some circle walking. And in that circle walking, it turned into like spinning, like suffix spinning. And when I emerged from that and into just my physical body being still, but the energy still very much spiraling through my being, I felt as if wings came out of my arms. Like literally, I felt wings coming out of my arms. And along my journey, I've come to know a long time ago that for myself, these wings are representative of Maat energy. Now, Maat is the ancient Egyptian deity of balance, harmony, order, law, abundance, unconditional love. She has a variety of attributes related to this. And for those who look at the ancient Egyptian iconography, the hieroglyphics, she has her wings, right? And then on her crown is a feather, right? Aset or Isis also has wings, but how you know the difference between Isis and Ma'at is that Ma'at has the feather on her crown, and Isis has a throne on her crown. Isis, Aset is what the true name, but for those who don't know, Isis, she wears the crown, the throne on her crown. So that's how you know who is who. In my path and my journey, my energy is governing this lifetime is what I'm directly cultivating and what I'm activating for, the environments that I step to as principles of balance. And so this particular instance, after the circle walking, after the stopping, after that emergence of wings, instantly I just got this hit of now is the time to bring this in to its fullest extent. And I'm talking from literary aspects, writing about this energy, what to do, from the creative aspects in terms of the presentation of art in whatever form, whether it's through music, through dance, through all these different things, that this principle of harmony, and I mean true harmony, that is able to shift and adapt and allow a situation or an interaction between individuals or groups to happen in a way that is conducive to the growth of everything that is present in that space. So this is the core of Ma'at energy. Ma'at is when we think of everything that has its position. We see the trees, we see the sun, the sky, we see individuals. Everything is allowed to be its unique self due to Ma'at, because Ma'at underlies all of it and holds it all in place. And so this energy was coming through super strong at that moment. And so after this, I'll fast forward to Bali Spirit Festival time. I was invited. They're like, what would you like to present? We want you to present something for the festival. I was like, all right, cool. I had presented a few offerings there before. And every time I present something, and not only there, but just I'm always bringing people together from different disciplines. Like I curate events where we'll have traditional dance mixed with contemporary dance. So like one of the choreography that I presented before was bringing Ketchak dance, Balinese dance mixed with breaking, b-boying, and some rap elements. And, then after that, I presented another one that took traditional Dayak dance, the tribe from Kalimantan, with Balinese dance. And they did a dance to trap music, So like I like fusions like this, and also I curate other events that are just theatrical and have these elements. So I'm constantly bringing other people into the things that I do. And so for this instance, I was like, well, perhaps I'll just present something of my own without everyone. Just let me just present something that is solo, because I hadn't done a solo show in years. And so I was like, okay, I'll do something solo. But no, that's not, it wasn't to be, because as it was getting closer to the date, I would start to get hits of this tone needs to come through, this tone, like a sound. And I know I can't do that sound, but I know this person can do it. Mm-hmm. So I'd holler at them like, hey, could you come in on? And they're like, for sure, definitely. And then I'd hear another sound like that this person doesn't do, but another. And so individuals started, I was just like, be a part of it. And then it just kept going like that. I had no formal blueprint in terms of start to finish. It's going to be this. But as people started coming in, it started to take more shape, And then it was like, okay, yeah, this piece that I have written is going to come through, so on and so forth. So when it was time for the actual presentation, there was I don't know, how many people were on stage? Like 20 people on stage? And not that everybody was doing something, but that the energy was all related to Maat energy and very much the component of the divine feminine coming through, because this is about balance and we're bringing this energy forth. Oh, and let me remix that. We're not bringing it forth. It's here. We're just removing all the stuff that has prevented us from seeing that has always been here. Divine feminine has gone nowhere. It supports everything. And so this presentation allowed for that. So all the sisters who were standing in the back just holding space, just, and then those vocal elements, those other elements of song, of toning, these were all coming in with Ma'at energy. And then what was being said through my poetry, through the rap songs that I did was all related to that. The Balinese dancer, all related to that. The hip hop dancer related to that. Everything was to represent that Ma'at energy, that balance. And that launched me into what is now just another phase of expression. Excuse me, that was kind of long. I'm trying to say it because I haven't spoken about it like this, So I'm just like, all right, what's that?
It's beautiful because it actually gives us a window into your creative process. Mm. And I feel like that's something that's inspiring for everyone's processes.
Mm. Yeah, so it was, it was powerful. And so there is a book that is done essentially. Now it's just laying it out. And there are other components that are going to be a part of it that are going to come through as I lay it out. So all the stuff that is like pre-written, if you will, is like I have it done. It's just now putting it all together. Okay, this is how it's flowing. It wants to flow out.
And the book is about this.
This Ma'at energy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Tentatively titled "The Dance Between Breaths." Yeah, there's a couple other titles that are like just as potent, and I'm wondering if it's like that those titles might just end up as chapters within that. Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
Can you take us back to when you first discovered the power of your voice, or you first got the courage to share it?
Courage to share it, and when I started going in are two different parts. Definitely. It took probably a good couple of years to get accept my voice and be comfortable enough to consistently share it. My first rap, so my name Kamau means quiet warrior. It's very apt because I'm essentially quiet, like during my solo time or even with groups. Unless someone is asking me a question, I'm chilling. I don't need to prove or insert my ideas onto just whatever. I chill. Ask me, we can talk. Mm-hmm. And so I've always been like that since I was younger. In high school, I had sprained my ankle. I used to skate when I was young, from 9 years old to about 16, 17. Skateboarding dominated my life. And
this is in the Bay Area.
This is San Francisco. And so when I was 15, I moved to East Oakland and I went to Berkeley High School. During this time, I was sponsored and I had a couple sponsors actually, and was doing demos with my skate team and stuff like that. And I had sprained my ankle. And during that time period, I wasn't going into the city where all my friends were skating because I didn't want to just have a sprained ankle and be like, damn, I can't skate. So I started hanging out with some friends from high school who were all into rapping and dancing and stuff like that. And so I was in one session and they were writing raps. They were like, why don't you write a rap? I was like, all right, I tried. So I wrote something and then they're like, all right, what you got? So I recited it and they liked it. They was like, oh, that's dope. That's cool. And so from there, I started writing raps, but still I was shy and I wasn't, confident with my voice. So I would never say it. And then there'd be rap sessions and ciphers and whatnot, and Cass would be freestyling, but I'd just be silent, kind of listening, but not saying nothing. Eventually, it was funny because they got fed up and kicked me out of the group because I never shared anything I wrote. I would write it, but I'd be like, nah, man, I wasn't active. So I ended up getting kicked out the group. But then another group I eventually would start connecting with, and they had a studio where it was actually, we can record some songs. And then that was the first time I got to actually hear my voice. And still kind of like, oh, that sounds weird. Like, just because, your first time you're hearing your voice back, it's just like, oh, damn, that's kind of weird. And then there was another dude who was in that crew, that of the circle of people. We would eventually form a rap group together. But within that, who was just super good, like just dope. This cat Ginseng, shout out to Ginseng. He just had this deep baritone voice, and he was a big dude and just fully with it. And it made me kind of even more like shy about my voice. But the space was fun enough, and we were recording enough to where it allowed me to get comfortable with my voice. And so, to this day, I say for people, because I know a lot of people who are not, and I'm not even talking about just art, just expressing themselves and their ideas and their thoughts, that, it's great to have a group of people around you who can support you in just expressing your ideas. We're not going to judge you for that. We're not going to, hold you back or be like, oh, nah, that ain't, nah. Just allow you to work it out and open it up. It's very important to have that. And so for me, at that time, this crew and being in this studio we call the dojo was exactly that, a dojo where you train and open this up. And so, yeah, over time, I got more confident. And yeah, and then it became, then I started to, and particularly at that time of being in the Bay Area, when, Tupac was hot on the radio and the whole thug life culture was very strong, that the tendency, even for those though we grew up in the area, we ain't about that. That's not what we were doing. Still, that tendency to want to sound like that was prevalent. And so thinking that I need to sound like that and change my voice to try to be closer to what people want to hear, but not being true to myself in doing that. So in having this particular space where we can really support each other helps to find our own voice, and so I was able to do that over time, and then accept it and express it to its fullest. And and that transitioned into out of just raps into just free form writing, which became poetry, and then going to open mics and then sharing that, and then people saying, oh, that's cool, and then okay, and then started writing more poetry, which led to being active not only in the rap scene but also the spoken word scene in the States overall. And so I ended up in 1999 was the best poet for the Oakland Slam Finals, and I was a rebellious dude, so I went way over the time limit and rebellion to the time limit, and didn't go on the Oakland team to go to the finals and all that stuff. Just that was a rebellious thing. But I learned my voice and was no longer shy to express it.
It's really powerful, and I really resonate with what you say about creating a space of non-judgment. And that's what I'm really loving about creating this show and the community of people that we have listening, that everyone is on that journey together of exploring and asking questions and being curious, and just not needing to be right or needing to argue against anything, but just this giving people space. And we have that not only with the guests, but also with the community. We have calls and we get everyone to share what's going on for them. And yeah, it's really powerful.
Beautiful. It's powerful and deeply necessary, for everyone, because, the throat, right? Throat chakra, communication, creativity, uniqueness, and from the heart going to our so-called higher centers or our upper centers, the throat is the first after the heart. So from the heart space, once that's activated, it can assist in activating the throat space, which allows the wisdom aspects to start coming through. And it can't come through if we're afraid of it. If we're afraid of our own voice, then our innate wisdom, the wisdom that we possess that's connected to the higher aspects of our being, can't flow through if we're afraid of it. And so we have to exercise it. And when you exercise it is when you're allowed to just, falter and, say something stupid, be off key, whatever's necessary, just so you can explore the dynamics of your unique voice. And yeah, so people, they have to have space for that. So community centers and cities and whatnot, or places where people can just get the choirs, like you see in church. A lot of beautiful singers come out of the church because this church is a space that's not judgmental, So if you go into a space like that and the whole thing is just bringing your spirit, and people aren't gonna, be like, oh my God, though some people may, but for the most part, it's like just sing, just get it out. Or people who go to kirtan and Ubud or whatnot, do it. Go open that up, because when you open that up, then that just translates to other aspects of your life. A person will be in a position where someone is saying something to them, and they may need to be like, nah, that's not necessarily correct for me. Doing that, having that ownership of one's, where one is at, is also connected with the throat, and being able to express where one is at. Oftentimes when we repress thoughts, that's also it's because our throat isn't open. You're going into a session where people are having a conversation and all this stuff is coming up, but it's just like, no, I'm not going to say something. That energy that adds another brick to the throat.
Totally. Yeah. If you've been in a meeting or even in a social situation where you don't say you can often, like, you say what feels really present to you, often you walk out with this kind of energy that you're holding, like something didn't happen that needed to happen. And it's interesting, this connection between opening our voices, the activation, and the non-judgment, but also what you were sharing about that desire, or maybe it's not even a desire, it's more of a habit to like align to the social codes and the culturescape. I like that phrasing for it, of what we're conditioned to think and feel and share. And so often when we think that something is, quote unquote stupid, it's just because it's not what is being shared to us through media, through the different creative channels, which a lot of them are owned in a certain way and controlled in a certain way, where it's not necessarily about sharing people's raw creativity. So that courage to, like you said, open up to your own inner wisdom and trust that inner wisdom, and trust that if that's not what people have heard before, maybe that's just what they really want to hear. And as you were saying activation, talking about the throat chakra, I was thinking of how close the words activation and activism are, and that activism is an activation of our truth out in the world. Can you share a little bit about how your art in all of these different disciplines that you work with has become so connected to activism, and whether that was ever purposeful or whether that just happened?
Let's start with that root word of activism and activation, which is active, to act, to be in motion. And art in and of itself is active. It's emotion. It's emotion, energy in motion. So being expressed in a way that is unique to where the motion is coming from. And I'm a huge purveyor of the uniqueness of everyone. Like that, there's no duplicate to you. There's no duplicate to me. There's no duplicate to anyone we meet. They're solely that individual, and there's nothing else that is exactly the same. And so because of that, it's representative of a frequency that has something to offer the total, And art, as it is expressed from a space that is natural, automatically contributes, and it contributes to the activation of the environment. It's like when you go into, let's take you go into a garden, right? Let's say natural and art, not natural art space is a garden, right? Or you have such a diverse selection of flora and trees and animals, birds, insects. Because of the diversity of the environment, because each individual expression of the one, which is just art. So like the roses is an art, the birds, an owl or a sparrow or a macaw, they're all art expressions of the one, that they tap into our own unique art expression. And then we can bring that forth a lot easier because we see it reflected in our environment. And so being in a city, the what is being seen a lot is so all the social dynamics that unfortunately are a lot of it disharmonious. Looking into political landscapes and seeing so much disharmony, seeing so much vying for power and control, and vying for power and control, suppressing uniqueness, suppressing art, suppressing individual expression to conform to whatever can give the power away. Seeing this, when the creativity comes forth, then it's going to highlight something different. It's going to show that for what it is. It's going to show the control paradigm for what it is. Say, okay, the more artistic we can be, the more liberated we can be, the more free we can be. So if freedom and liberation is a goal of mine, then as I bring it for myself, I just want it for my brother. I want it for my sister. I want it for the people around me. I want freedom for them as well to express their uniqueness because I want to see it. Because that'll be the feedback, that reciprocal loop of your individual expression is inspiration for my individual expression, inspiration for that person's individual expression. And it aids in the freedom and the liberation of all of us, right? And so the control system understands this very well. And this is why when it comes time for, new laws to come in or whatever, the first thing they go after is the arts. Don't get the artists out of the way or control the arts, even if it's not, and which is what you see now. It's not so much of a get artists out of the way. It's just like, let's control it by saying this is what it is. So if you turn on the radio, it's dominated by one sound or two sounds. It's dominated by things that keep people giving energy away as opposed to cultivating it. And so art and activism historically are married. They have always been together, because whenever you have unique individuals running around, they just serve as an inspiration for other people to be unique individuals running around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Would you be up for sharing something? I haven't asked you in advance to prepare anything, but maybe you have something that you could share.
I could. But let's continue the conversation, and I have a very Gemini mind, so we can continue the conversation, and as we can converse, then what to share will come through.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that. You've been in Bali now for 15 years, and yeah, there's not a lot of Black people that hang out in Bali, and I imagine 15 years ago that would have been particularly more true than it is today. How has it been for you to come into a culture and not have other people of your culture around you?
It's been interesting and a journey with it, particularly just because I come from a very strong Black community, one that is very culturally conscious, arts conscious, politically conscious. Like my mother was a theater arts teacher. She had a theater publication. Father, though it wasn't his profession per se, was his love and passion, which was photography. And I grew up on my mother's hip as she was directing plays, so I just grew up in a very strong Black environment. And so, but simultaneously, it was also the Bay Area, which is very diverse, and particularly San Francisco, which is it's very diverse, that where neighborhoods very much morph into each other, not necessarily a New York City diversity where it's just clear distinctions. That's where these groups are. That's where the group area. San Francisco, in particular, is very, it's very melted in that way. Particularly '80s San Francisco, '80s, '90s. So both was embedded in me, my cultural consciousness, simultaneously the ability to appreciate and accept other people, because that's just San Francisco, especially, every aspect of San Francisco is different. The hills, there's no area where it's just completely flat. Houses are different colors. They'll be right next to each other. They'll be completely different styles. You go around the corner, it's a whole nother environment. You go over there, there's these people, the civil rights, much of the civil rights, or the Black Power movement, the gay rights movement, a lot of social movements come out of San Francisco, Oakland, the Bay Area. So all that is known to me and carried in me. So when I come to Bali, and for the first time, I'm just tripping out on how many people, first brown Asians, like really deep brown Asians, seeing so many was just new to me. It was like, because, so with the exception of like Cambodians who were very dark in the Bay Area, you'd see the Filipinos for the most part in the Bay Area aren't so dark. Like if you go to the Philippines, you'll see some really dark Filipinos, but in the Bay, they're pretty light. And unfortunately, in the States, we're just very skin tone consciousness and all that stuff. So coming out here and experience like whoa, it's a trip, and then and so I had a natural affinity already just on some skin tone. Oh, we got dark folks out here too. And here's something I want to impart that a lot of people are unaware of. Like for us as Black Americans, I can't speak for other Black country, people in different countries, but for us, Black isn't necessarily the tone of the skin. It's just melanated peoples are just like, I was like, okay, like you come to the neighborhood, if you hanging out in the neighborhood, oh, well, she Black too, it's just, it's kind of like
I'm down with that.
So is when we come to Asia, it's just like, oh, these Black Asians, that's just how it's perceived. And so, but then to have the interaction, like the full spectrum from super curiosity to deep fear to having all the spectrum of projections being thrust upon you was interesting. For a lot for years being here, I wouldn't see another Black person. I just wouldn't, and then when I did, and someone who was a tourist or whatever, I'd be like, yo, what's up, hey? And sometimes they'd be like, hey, what's going on? Sometimes they'd just be like, who the hell is this dude? Like,
like the mad Black man on the island hasn't seen someone.
And it's a trip to really experience the results of media imagery and how it's been projected into the world. So many people at the time coming up to me, like, yo, man, what's up? Like literally speaking to me like that as a greeting. Yo, man, like trying to relate. And I could see that they're just trying to connect. Yo, man, what's up? How you doing? And I just be like, apakabar, I just read the book. Apakabar, how you doing? Yo, it was just a trip.
That was Indonesians or tourists?
That's Indonesian, yeah. That's here in Indonesia.
I suppose I get that in a different way because people watch a lot of Bollywood in Indonesia. So I get little bits of songs and the dancing right. from the Bollywood movies, which I enjoy. But I also, I am not a great Bollywood dancer.
Right. Well,
unfortunately.
It's the power of media, right? It's like what people see in the media, they think that's what that group is about. And so with Indian and Bollywood, it's when you watch Bollywood, particularly, I've been in Indonesian homes watching Bollywood. It's like it's exciting, it's fun. It's like, oh, it's like dramatic. It's like, oh, so there's just an infinity. That's why it's so loved, right?
Yeah.
It's very different for the imagery of my people being presented now, which is mostly gangs, drugs, murder, bravado, hypersexuality, all these different images. As well as the cool aspects, cool music, stuff like that too. So it's this full spectrum of projection that is received. Unfortunately, the majority of it is on the negative side of it. So even how I got to stay here is interesting because the first time I came to Bali was just a free stop between Thailand and Sydney. And I booked a room in Kuta. Again, I didn't know nothing about Bali. So I booked a room in Kuta and I was walking to the beach. I literally just went into a shop and bought a travel guide to see where I wanted to go. And as I was looking at it, an Indonesian dude comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, how you doing? Where you going?" I'm like, "I don't know yet. I'm just trying to, see into it." And he's like, "If you buy or rent a motorbike, then I'll take you wherever you want to go." I'm like, "Oh, really? Oh, cool. How much it cost?" He's like, "No, no, no, no. Don't worry. It's all good. I got free time today. Let's go." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I went and rented a motorbike. Told him where I was staying. He was like, "Oh, that's too expensive. Come over here. I know a better place for cheaper." Did that, and we rode out for the day. And he dropped me off in the evening, and then he was like, "So tomorrow, let's go again." I was like, "It's cool." He's like, "Yeah, let's go, let's go." Cool. So we did this for a week. He come to where I was staying in the morning. We ride out. He dropped me off in the evening. I'd go hang out in a bar or whatever, and then go to sleep, and we do it again. So about a week into the trip, we were up in Kintamani, just sitting, observing the view, and enjoying the atmosphere or whatnot. And then he asked me the question. He's like, "So do you know why I come up to you and say I'll take you around and I'll charge you any money?" I'm like, "Nah, no, why'd you do that?" And so he said, "I take tourists around from Europe, from Australia, from America. And I always wonder, and I ask them, how are Black people in your country? Because, I look at Black people best at everything that's fun to do, best at singing, best at football, best at dancing." And this is how he speaks, best at singing, best, he's saying this. So I want to know how their experience with Black people. And so he said that they would tell him each time, they would say, "Oh, Black people no good."
Whoa.
And it didn't compute for him because he was like, how could they be no good but be the best at everything that's fun? He's like, it didn't compute for him. So instead of taking those people's word for it, he came up to me. It was like, "I'll take you around," because he wanted to see for himself.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It didn't sit. So he's like, "Yeah, for free, don't worry." And so he took me to meet his family, took me to meet his friends, took me all these little back cuts, gave me discounts on so I didn't get hassled by, get the tourist attitude from, local cats, and looked out. And the whole time he was, sizing me up.
Did you feel sized up?
No, I didn't feel sized up at all. Again, I was just enjoying. I was just like, "Wow, this is great." It's a testament not only to just, again, the projection, just this image that people have of Black people, but then also a testament to the flip side of it, of people like having that adulation and wanting to know. And kudos to him, Adias, his name, kudos to him for just taking the initiative to see for himself and experience, not even see, to like fully experience. Like, "I'll take you around for a week because I want to know what's going on with that." And how rare is that attitude? Like, he didn't just jump off of what they said. He was like, I'm gonna see for myself. And because of that, I had the time of my life, which led me to coming back here again, which led to so on and so forth. 15 years later, I'm having an interview with you, sitting in Bali talking about,
Yeah.
And so, yes, a trip having that out here. Also, like, I've lived in other parts of Indonesia. I lived in Jakarta for on 2 separate occasions, 3 months the first time and 4 months the second time, and experienced a whole lot of racist like bullshit from local population. I had an Indonesian girlfriend at the time, and they would interrogate her when I wasn't around about like, "You guys do drugs," and blah, blah, blah. And she's Muslim, and so like we were very much like saying we were married just so we can keep the energy peaceful. But they would interrogate, and as I got better with my own Indonesian, start to understand certain things that people would say when I walk by, and all these, and it's, there's a lot of negative stereotypical projections that still happen. And in my growth and learning process with that is because again, I come from the Bay where all that stuff is like, we're really aware of these things. And in the beginning, having this reactionary attitude and coming to the frame of knowing that they just don't know. They're ignorant. They don't know. And started to look at them in the way that I would look at children who just don't know. And started mirroring certain reactions. So like I would get laughed at. To this day, I get laughed at. Like if I can just be chilling in a coffee shop. If it's a van of locals come by, they look at me, they whisper and laugh, and I'm the butt of so many jokes. It doesn't bother me anymore, and particularly because I just mirror it. So if they laugh at me, if I have a friend, I'll go and point at them and just do exactly, and then they start laughing, and it just diffuses the thing. I'm constantly shocking people. I walk into a spot, they'll look, they jump up and all that stuff, and then I'll just jump back and I'll do the same thing.
You have the most chilled out energy. So it's kind of hard to imagine that you walk into a spa and everyone jumps.
Well, because
that's the power, right, of these stereotypes and these projections.
And it's not like I'm, I get it to an extent. It's like I'm dark. I got this white fro, but I've not always had that, even just in a t-shirt and just normal. I've had all kind of looks or styles or whatever, and each thing I've gotten responses. So it is some kind of innate thing, but it's not always necessarily negative. I understand that. The hateful aspects I experience every so often, where there's just someone who and I just see it in their eyes, they just have this hate, like whatever happened in their life, if someone who looked at me or looked like me or whatever, that I'm just getting the projections of that. I understand that as well. So it's interesting. And now that there's a lot more Black folks just traveling in general and coming to Bali, a lot of the shock it doesn't really happen as much anymore. So like people are familiar. Yeah, it's a spectrum.
It's interesting because I've been wanting to officially leave the city for some time, but I enjoy the diversity in the city. Like I enjoy the fact that I can walk around and no one blinks an eye. And I really want to go and live in nature. But I mean, Bali for me has kind of provided that, because I enjoy the fact that my skin tone is very close to the Balinese skin tone, and I enjoy the fact that they watch Bollywood and feel an affinity to something that I represent. And I enjoy the fact that there is a whole diverse community here from all over the world. But when I think about in Europe, okay, shall I move to this village or this town? And then I get this kind of just this fear of not wanting to be the only not white person in that town. I grew up that way.
Yeah.
And it was fine. It was all I knew. But when I got to the city and I was like, oh, it's nice when that's not the experience of being the only non-white person in a room. And I find that a little bit limiting at the moment, where I'm trying to feel into where the next home is.
Yeah. It's in those times that I've wanted to leave Bali, it was because of that. I miss playing, like I DJ, so and this is one thing, to be playing music for people who don't necessarily have a deep cultural connection to the music being played. They may like it, may even love it, and be like, wow, this is great, but not having a cultural connection to it, Like, this song requires this dance.
Yeah.
And not knowing, and even other subtleties that have just, when you grow up in a culture that you would just appreciate. And so to not have that, and then people to look at the songs that you're playing as just whatever. You miss being in a room where you drop this particular song, the entire room is gonna just be like, oh, their heart is gonna just burst right open. I miss that, and so I would be like, I gotta go somewhere. And those were the times where I felt like I wanted to leave Bali. Ultimately, knowing that I still have to bring that here, regardless, and represent for that. But it's interesting, particularly in Ubud, where the scene regarding spirituality and develop is very much year-old century, dominated by white folks who, you go into a yoga class, it's going to be majority white people, and then there may be one black person or someone of a different ethnic group. It's becoming more diverse now, just as the place gets more popular. But for the longest, it was just like, wow. And I don't practice asanas aspect of yoga. I think the other aspects of yoga definitely I'm engaged in, but I don't do asanas. And so the scene is very much catered to that. And I'm like, man, I have my own spiritual expression and movement and these different things that aren't present here. And to provide, again, we spoke of just my duty and my service being related to balance. Me being here so long as be a pillar to represent that other aspect, So, because there are people here who gravitate more towards, an African expression or quote unquote Black expression. And so to be able to guide and provide sounds and music and insight from that perspective is a reason that I've been here for so long as well, and because that's all it is. It's just like if you talk about, envisioning the future, if you ask a person, what does the future look like? Like, really? I mean, is it going to be just 1,000 years of us playing acoustic guitar and singing medicine songs? Is that what the future is? Is that what it is? For me, it's not.
For some, it is.
For some, it is. Yeah. For some, when they envision their version of whatever 5D, 5D. How are we skipping from 3 to 5? Come on. Anyway, the vision of the new world is like they don't see anybody who looks like me, listens to the music that I listen to in that.
Right. Yeah.
Yet that is being projected as the epitome of what the new world and spirituality looks like and where it's going. And it's just not. No, I see all of it. There's a constant. All of it being related to open expression, and whatever someone is being offered, whatever someone is offering is having its space to be contributed to the whole, and that's going to look like differences as people come from different aspects of the earth and bring different lineages and different codes that they embody being presented to, as ingredients to the new cake that is being, baked.
It's interesting how much our music is what determines our community and then maybe our vision as well.
It is, it's the music is the universal language, right? And the great unifier, so and I've had this before, like when I started playing ecstatic dances and whatnot, I don't play like anybody else. And especially when I first started, I was coming out of playing from clubs. I stopped playing at clubs because I was done with it. I was done being the soundtrack for all the madness that goes on in clubs. And I love playing ecstatic dance because of the freedom to go wherever you want to take the journey. And so, but coming in with a hip hop and a soul and an aesthetic that is rooted in my people, right? And having the people that I'm playing for, not all of them, but a lot of the people not having any reference point or relationship to that, and then their rebellion to that because they want what they think is spiritual or whatnot. I experienced all of that, it's like, and like I love playing Michael Jackson's music, right? When I play Michael Jackson music, for me, I'm playing an ancestor. I'm playing a pop star. If I play Marvin Gaye or Prince, and I'm playing ancestors, people who come from my community, people who, when they died, I shed tears, my mother shed tears, my brother shed tears. That's to the group, many of the people that I play for, they're just playing pop music. They don't see the connection because media has disconnected our expression from culture. That is they've commodified it to such a degree that it's just whatever. But it's not the case for myself. It's like, I play Marvin Gaye, that's what my mother. If I play Aretha Franklin or Ray Charles, that's what my grandparents danced to. And there's no reference point for that. And so they may like it or enjoy it, but it's difficult for them to really open up and to the deepest degrees because of that. And so for those small minority of people who can open up to that, because because perhaps their parents also love that music or something like that. Maybe they grew up on it, and that can be anywhere. Again, the music that has come from the Black community is all over the world, right? It's when I play, I mix those songs in with a lot of other elements because it's part of the whole, and it has a specific code and a vibration that is also relevant and should be represented.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with kirtan. I have a similar experience. Like, I love it, but sometimes when I go to kirtans, I think I'd rather just chant these mantras at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's something about just holding the relationship to the vibration of that music, of what that energy is. And then sometimes I go to a kirtan and I find it completely a transcendent experience. Maybe it's to do with the artist, maybe it's to do with their connection to what it is that they're sharing. It's the vibration, I guess.
Yeah. Kirtana has always been funny for me in the sense of I've been to a few, and I deeply appreciate it for what it is. Just doesn't resonate with me personally. And I've heard people, and I'll say that to certain people in town, they'll be like, "Oh, but have you heard so and so?" And I'll be like, "Yeah."
Right.
All good. I see it. Like, I can see how folks get deeply into it. It's just I just flow a bit differently,
Right.
and what opens me up in in a specific way is just comes through a different vibration, and that's okay. Do your thing, and I have mine. So I have to create the space for people who also open up to this particular vibration to have that as well, because and that's the thing. There should be space for all of it, and this is where the collective as a whole can grow and develop. If there is space where everybody can have their opportunity to open up, if a person doesn't open up when they eat an apple, then they open up when they eat an orange. Then we provide oranges so they can open up too. If there's a person who opens up a watermelon and they eat a watermelon and that's what shoots them, to the moon, or really grounds them if they need whatever it is, then that should be provided for them. There should be space for that, And like a town like Ubud, which is now known internationally, even for people who don't know anything about spirituality, they'll hear about it if they start getting into it. It's such a magnet for that all of that needs to be provided. There needs to be space for all of it to have its shine and representation. It cannot be controlled by one idea of what spirituality looks like and is supposed to be. Cannot be, because if that happens, then it'll duplicate what's already in the world of people, saying that this is the way to move. It's another control structure at play, and that's what we're trying to remove the masks, not put any more on. So for that to happen, there has to be the options where each code is represented, and people can, if they need that code to activate something, they can do that.
Have you been open to your own spirituality all of your life, or did it come later, like when you came to Asia? Or
well before Asia, but not early in terms of like not consciously early, though the seeds were definitely being planted. And I say, I chose my incarnation. I chose my name, my parents, where I was born for specific reasons. And this path is related to balance. And in recapping my life and looking back at all the different major circumstances, they've all been related to what is being presented now. And I see this as the same for each person. If a person really looks into the circumstances they were born into, the major challenges that they went through and experienced, and glean the jewels from that, then the path of their spiritual unfolding will reveal itself in all of that. And so in that, as we move forward, there are different catalysts that give a snap to say that reveal a new level of awareness. And so when I was 18 was my first major catalyst where it was just like, oh, and it was a big shift in my life towards consciously studying about myself and my place in the world and reality and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, from that, then it's at that time, it was really every 2 years would be a catalyst that would shoot me to another phase. And so when I came to Bali, even that, how that happened, and me just coming to Asia was via meeting a clairvoyant, who came up to me, who described one of my spirit, quote unquote, spirit guides, who I already know is one. And so she described the details. I was like, yep. And which led me to sitting with her free. She came up to me, was like, man, I got some information for you. We need to meet. Mm-hmm. I thought she wanted money. She was like, as soon as I had the thought, she was like, don't worry about money. This is really important. So we met the next day and we sat, for a couple of hours, and she broke down a whole lot of different things. And we spoke to stuff that was happening in that present time. She said, you're going to be coming into some money and you're going to be doing a lot of traveling. She made some predictions for her, but the way she was speaking was like, they're showing me, like, so she was tapping into the higher aspects of, my soul squad, if you will. She's like, yeah, you're going to come into some money. You're going to do a lot of traveling. She mentioned Australia. And a few months down the line, I came into some money. I was like, all right, I'll go explore what's going on in Australia and see what's happening down there. And that's how I ended up, coming to Bali like that. So the spirituality has always been there. Even when I was really young, my mother used to chant. She used to chant Buddhist mantras, and I would, be scrambling into her room at night or whatever, and she'd be chanting, and I'd wait and stuff like that. So that energy was in my home. My mother also is from New Orleans, so there's through that energy of traditional African American spirituality comes through the family. It's always been present.
And now, what are the practices that feed you and energize your creativity?
I practice Qigong daily. I teach Qigong, which is a dynamic form. White Tiger Qigong is the foundation in which my Qigong is practiced from. Simultaneously, even before White Tiger Qigong, I've been meditating for 20 years. I learned a long time ago. My initial awakening into spiritual knowledge and practice came through an ancient Egyptian system, a Sarset society based in America, which gave me a good fundamental foundational knowledge of ancient Kemetic spirituality and what the different Netru or the different deities, what they truly represent, was initiated actually, or not fully, but entered into initiation, I should say, to be a part of the priesthood of that society, and then withdrew 6 months into it because at the end of the day, for myself, hierarchy showed itself to be bullshit and unnecessary for my growth. And so when I removed myself, the wealth of information that came to me regarding the nature of reality and how it extends beyond just what we can physically see, beyond this particular planet, beyond this density, this vibration, this level of awareness, all that information started coming in, which I dived deep into. And so all this is reflected just in my daily journeys as I just live. So I have, in terms of my direct, what I do is very simple. My Qigong is not like intricate and complicated. It's very simple. My meditation practices, I did Vipassana almost 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, this is what's up. So that is a foundation, while I simultaneously have other visualizations and things that I do if I need something specific. But for the most part, I tune into my higher guidance and allow what needs to come through. And so when I journey around in Asia, and I love temples, I appreciate the energy of temples and architectures and, the reverence that's and what is cultivated. So I just go and visit. And I don't enter temples like, oh, I need something, or I'm here as a worshiper. No, I walk in and I look at these different deities that I see depicted as peers, as just energies that exist within me, that exists within everybody. And different energies are, they want to step in to have a dance at certain times. The energy of, for example, Ganesha. A person may be in a point in their life where that energy wants to dance, and then you guys have that dance to activate, to allow whatever progression is necessary to happen. And the dance, that may go next to Saraswati, or to Apollo, random, or Ogun, or whoever the energy is that is necessary to continue to move forward on one's path. These are all archetypes, right, that exist within us. To the degree that we can balance all these energies within us, to the degree that we can just live life, and just flow through it. We don't have to try to live, we just live. We relax into our practice, relax into our journey, and everything comes naturally when it's ready. You don't need to jump steps. We don't have to leap. There's no race. There's nowhere to get to. The only place to get to is right here. So we're just getting here as we go there, which is here, which is paradoxical. Simplicity is what I roll with.
Hello, this is Amisha. We are just taking a little break from the conversation here. On behalf of myself and the team, I want to say thank you for being part of creating a beautiful future. We make this for you so that we will all have the vision, wisdom, and activism we need at this time to weave a new narrative. Can you help us with this? You can do that by making a monthly donation to the podcast to cover our costs. Just the equivalent of a fair trade banana you might eat or a chai latte you might drink whilst you listen to this will make a huge difference to us. Head to www.thefutureisbeautiful.co/community to become a monthly patron. And the other thing is to tell your friends about this podcast so they can tune in too. Send them a message or post on social media and let them know what you love about it. And whilst you're at it, leave us a review. And now, back to the conversation. Thank you for your loving beauty. What can you offer to our friends listening that are, on the other side of that fence of the courage that we were talking about to share our voice and to share our creativity, and maybe not even to share it, maybe actually
be it,
to open to it.
Be it. When one just embody, like this term embodiment, embody it, by get in your body. People say, oh, get in your body. What does that mean? It doesn't mean just go and dance. Doesn't mean just stretch and feel everything. Yeah, but that's not the end all of what embodiment is about. And in the embodiment phase of things, it means the empowerment phase is complete. No longer seeking energy to feel better. We're now a self-generating system, and we're direct. Our energy source goes direct. We're no longer empowering ourselves by getting things. And so when we be natural, then the art of who we be comes naturally. We don't have to try to do anything. We get in sync. Synchronicity enhances, and we just flow through life in a much smoother way. And from that radiates out. Right? And sharing is a natural part of that, if that is a person's path to do, because I don't think it's everybody's path to be out there like, okay, I gotta do this. Again, if you be natural, what you do comes natural. And even if it's to do nothing, that's also part of it. Even if you have something that you can impart, because you have a deeper understanding of the when to do something and when not to do something. If it's not to do it, then you don't do. Because we can guide easy by being, and in that beingness, then a person is going to pick up what is necessary from that. And if there's even more information to come through that has to be direct in word form and so on and so forth, then that will come. And if it doesn't, that's okay, because at the end of the day, each other person also has to go on their journey and learn whatever lessons they need to learn. I've said certain things to many people, like, okay, you ask a question, it's like, all right, well, here's how I see it based on my experience. From my point of view, I can be like, oh, well, just apply it and you'll receive the results of that application. And oftentimes people won't apply it, and then they go through their little bumps, boom, 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 boom. They get, pinballed around their life. And then they come back. And after all that pinballing, then they go, okay, I think I understand what you were saying. And then they apply it, So a lot of people just have to go through things. And we just impart to the degree that we feel naturally inclined to do so, which is very different than trying to help people. I'm going to help you. Like, what? Who are you? What? You got a cape on back there? Nah, just be natural. And then even if it's not through words, through osmosis, it'll still be transmitted, Yeah.
Beautiful. This year you created this event, the Black Divinity Meditation. Can you share the inspiration for that?
Sure. Black Divinity Meditation Day is what took place on April 6th. And the inspiration is really rooted in inspiring more people who identify as Black to be involved in meditation. And to tap into that aspect of themselves that is waiting to be tapped into, that is the true essence of who we are as life, as not only just life as human beings, but just as life, to be able to tap into our core and allow that to come forth and be the guide point for our lives. And so Black Divinity Meditation Day was set up for that. And when I look into the global spiritual community in terms of whether it's yoga, whether it's meditation, metaphysics, these different spiritual modalities that are presented, when you go into festivals and all these different things, people who identify as Black are very underrepresented in all of this. When people think of meditation, of course, people might think of Buddhism, or Asian populations. When we look in current times of imagery, what's being depicted as people of European descent, and just this idea that Black people are just Christians and Muslims and that's it. And people from the Black community who, majority who are coming from a Christian background, have been conditioned to believe that meditation is for other groups. If not in the extreme sense, meditation is Satan in this extreme, right? So to have a day where we can dispel those myths, because there are a lot of Black folks doing meditation. We're practicing meditation. A lot of Black meditation teachers, a lot of Black yogis, a lot of Black people involved in Qigong, practices that help to expand and develop our inner awareness and sensibilities. There are many in the community, in the Black community, doing it, but are not highlighted and are not, prevalent in these festivals, these consciousness festivals that take place. So this day was to inspire that and to say, okay, on today, we want Black folks to tune in, turn the scope, take 20 minutes and just turn the scope in at least, and sit, do as best as possible to bring your mind into center, to relax it, to allow that essence that comes forth when you relax to be experienced, even if it's for a little bit. And then from that, bring it into your day. So it's one thing to do that and say that to an individual, but then to have a collective day where we get collectives coming together for that reason is another thing. And so that's what it was about. Not only just to do that, but also to share that, to take a picture of it, have a friend document it, take a photo, take a selfie of you sitting down before you engage in the meditation and share it, put it into the social media sphere. Because again, we are steering the narrative. We have such the imagery is so distorted. I mean, you get all images of us singing and dancing all the time. Do this, play football, play basketball, play all these different things. Where it's do, active, active, active. Let's just take a time and not be active and experience the power of not being active. So this was a day for that, to tap into the divinity within. And not just for Black people, anybody could be involved in it. And it was extended to anybody to participate, but specifically for people who identify as Black, because we are underrepresented and don't have a full scope of knowledge about that and how it benefits us, everyone, yeah.
Why did you call it Black Divinity Day meditation?
Well, because it's a double entendre. Black in itself is the primordial essence. When you close your eyes to meditate, you're going into the blackness. You turn out the lights, you close your eyes, and you get into the space, and hopefully it's silent around. And in that blackness is where the creative force reveals itself. It shows itself, is experienced. And from that, when you emerge from that, then you're bringing that creative energy into your day. You're cultivating the inner light to shine from that space. So that's the Black thing. Again, because there are now people who identify as Black, and it's this group of people who do not have this awareness and this knowledge of meditation and that connection with Blackness. It's still very much I'm Black, my skin color, or culturally we're Black, and particularly in the States. It's dual. It's tap into the primordial essence within. It's also Black people coming together to tap together. It's like let's be individual as a collective. And in that, it strengthens not only who we are as individuals, but it strengthens our connection with the collective. Not only the collective of people identify as Black, but the collective of the human collective, the life collective, the oneness collective. Because when in that deep space of meditation, that's what all of that stuff falls away. The identification with I'm Black, therefore this society has done this to me, and just all the projections. Some of it is true, some of it not true, just my own carrying of trauma. All that starts to fall away when we get into the primordial essence of who we are. And so it's served on multiple levels. And that was the intent, for it to serve on multiple levels. So when it comes time for the Global Meditation Day, which exists, there's already a Global Meditation Day, then Black people will be more inclined to want to be involved in the Global Meditation Day, because now I understand that there are more people who are meditating like me. So it's not just for, Buddhists or, Asians or yogas, from New Hampshire or, whatever, Europe or whatever, I can be involved in this because meditation really is as natural as breathing, and we all breathe.
Beautiful and really powerful. I think it's something that a lot of people wouldn't necessarily think of, where the barriers to joining something come in. And I know that when I was teaching a lot of yoga in London, there was one class in particular that I used to teach at the studio of this woman, Annegret Folderbach, who has been on the show. And because a lot of her community, she's been working in Ghana for many years and now lives in South Africa. She had a lot of Black community in her community, and they started coming to the yoga classes, and they said to me, we feel really comfortable here. And a lot of that was to do with my skin tone, but with what I'm carrying with that skin tone. It gave them something that felt more relatable and more safe. Yeah. And that's just a doorway And then I'm sure that many of those women are now comfortable going to all kinds of classes and joining in all kinds of things.
Yes, indeed.
But we often need the doorways that make us feel safe to, I guess, go into the black, right? Go into the dark, go into that inner world.
Sure. It's extremely important. Similar for like women's circles, right? And before I speak to that, it was when I first put the word out, like when I made a flyer and promo, and this is Black Divinity Meditation, and then, gratefully someone, extremely famous, Russell Simmons, came. He was like, I support this 100%. He started putting the word out there, and he's got, massive following. And reading the response from people, particularly who are of European descent, it's always, why Black? Why is it why can't it be just everybody? And it's like there's no understanding that to heal, we have to be around people who have the common experience. So if, for example, women, imagine if women who have experienced traumatic experiences due to the hands of men and are looking to heal from that, and then go to a women's circle and there are a bunch of men there too. It's just, you can't get as open. And so that space is needed where women can support each other to heal, to activate whatever is necessary for a woman to return to balance. Has to be done with other women. Similar with men. A lot of women, like, men don't cry. Well, yeah, come to a men's circle. No, you can't come to a men's circle because if you were there, they wouldn't cry. But in a circle of men, all of that gets dropped and released. And then from that, they can show up much better when they go amongst women and other people. Yeah. So it's similar with Black people. It's like, and historically, everything that we've done, just because of the nature of the experience we've had, it has been gone out and other people have come into it. So it's just like, all right, for us to really heal as well, we got to do things together. We got to have our representation for ourselves. And it's not exclusive in the sense of, no, you can't come. It's not about that. It's just that we need to get together because we're a family and we got some stuff to heal. We got some stuff to open up and activate. And we have to be amongst ourselves in order to do that. In the same way that, like, if a person's personal family was having an issue, let's say I met somebody in a cafe, and they go, my family just lost, some family members. It was violent, so on and so forth. It's all kind of drama. We're about to get together this weekend to have a dinner. I'm not going to be like, can I come? Can I come? Like, no, I don't know you. I'm not going to even ask that. I'm not gonna, because that's your family. Understand that y'all going to work whatever, even though I may even be able to contribute, whatever it is. It's not my thing. A person has to, family has to go experience. So the Black community is a family, and there's a lot of stuff that we have to know about and activate and work out. So we got to get together to do that. And it can't be all these other people involved in it. But that being said, you can support by meditating on that day also with your community in support, because whoever's meditating on day is going to generate energy towards the healing of everyone. Right. So there was I had a friend who shared with me a photo that she held a meditation with her meditation group, which was all people of European descent, and posted it like in support of Black Divinity Meditation Day. It's like, because the upliftment of any community uplifts the whole community, And so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we need intimacy in order to be able to go into the places that are hardest to talk about or reveal. And I feel that another example that just came to me is a friend of mine that in the UK goes to, there's a movement of kind of these weekends which are all about openness and open sexuality and polyamory. And there were all the people of color, of which there were maybe 5 out of 200, they found themselves together in the hot tub, like they gathered each other just to talk about like how that feels with the ancestral history that they have of their bodies. And it's not like, it wasn't like you can't come in the hot tub if you're white, but it was like you can come in the hot tub, but you probably are going to get triggered, and then we're going to get triggered, and we're trying to have a conversation that's not about getting triggered, that's about sharing and removing that triggering material. And so sometimes there's just an order of things, right?
It's an order of things. And unfortunately, you know, the historical domination of a particular group and its imposition as a standard of being, it filters through all these different systems and ways of expression. So when a group says, look, we're going to remove ourselves from that and just do something that is unique for us, then the many individuals, and again, not everyone at all, but many individuals get triggered by that because they've been programmed that I must be a part of that. And if I'm not a part of that, then insecurity jump up, all kind of different things. I'm not a part of it. I'm not the head of this. I'm not. It's just, and I must destroy it, right? So that's historical, and it's funny. Speaking of historical, as this Black Divinity Meditation Day was going on, one of the sister friends, she was just doing some research, and she found on April 6th, and I forget if it was like 1828, somewhere back in that era, that in New York, a law was passed on that day that prevented more than 3 Black people gathering together.
Wow. And that's the day you picked.
Yeah. That was interesting. So it's historical. When we gather together, it's just like fear jumps up. You know, I've experienced it even when it's not. It's just like a group of us who are Black men being in a social environment here in Bali, just us enjoying and just looking at the dynamics of so many other men in the place, just like get shook. And it's a trip. And so, you know, we're trying to heal that. In order to heal that, we got to be able to tune in and have space for that. You know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for creating that and putting that out in the world and opening up that space.
Thank you. Yeah, and bless up, you know, it was just a vessel, you know, it came in really smoothly, like, all right, this is what's going to go down. And then it was not a whole lot of, all right, how am I going to, there was not a mental thing at all, you know. As soon as it came through, I was like, I saw an image really, quickly, I just made a flyer. And then I was like, that's fresh. And then I went to speak with 2 people, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. You know?
And that's a real example of when you when you be the creator, and you just be, right? And that's when, of course, all these things line up. And of course, that happened on the exact same day in 1820. And of course, you picked that day. And
it's interesting. And there were so many other synchronicities that jumped off, like in the States, that during the course of that day, a few days prior, really, you know, a famous person in Los Angeles from the Black community was murdered. And it was a big thing about that. This brother Nipsey Hussle. They had, so the different gangs, and the 2 main gangs in LA had a peace truce on that day, and they marched together. That very day that we were holding our meditation day, they were coming together in solidarity, you know, in support of stopping violence and like really, you know, not continuing this particular trauma. When they had the actual memorial service, which was like televised and in one of the big stadiums in LA, is like tens of thousands of people there. This brother's mother took the stage, and when she was speaking, she was like, I see the divinity in all of us. We all have the divine within. And when I saw that, I was just like, things just operate on a frequency and a level that is well beyond what we can see.
Yeah, the interconnection, the interbeing.
Because her word choice was exactly what we were talking about, you know? Yeah, no coincidences, no random coincidences, at least. All synchronistic, so.
Totally.
From the chalice of constant change, I sip bittersweet sensations of solitude. Drunk with introspection, my stagger's more balanced than it's ever been. As the path I travel vibrates at a rate that makes it appear that I'm walking on water. This ain't far from the truth. My choice of when to ride decides the personality of my path's current. How high I fly gives character to tides in my spirit as circle the sun, so my path tidal waves to pass the bullshit, to calmly caress my core. My solo symphony I can't ignore. I explore every note, to B sharp and C flattened perceptions crack under the heat of my solar plexus expressions of a radiant nexus. I'm nestling in art. Next step, thrust open the heart. Violet rays shower them in violet sparks, the intensity of spirit knowing the beauty of balanced thought, polarities combine in my mind. I'm greater than Noah's Ark. I fear no deluge of dark. I've drowned myself in purple rain. This is only the start as I embark on the ride of a daily suicide train, where fear dies at the hands of my soul's sword, fear cloaked in the image of turf pride, fear fueled by media, corporate lies that people buy into and get taxed. Soul sword slash free from the traps, no more mental lapse, for beyond time space, there is no collapse. After my final death, I'll remain intact. Reality becomes exact. I'll actualize the fact my entire human track. I had my own back. When imaginary friends became just that. See, I was there to comfort my conscience. I was there to extend my hand, my arm, my shoulder to lean on, my eardrums for my dreams to beat on. If I could hear the rhythm, I give a damn if they can't. I choose my free will to breathe. They choose it to faint, pass out, sleepwalking the plank with sharks below. My wings flutter fast, them dudes vibrate too slow, and I'm just a fine-ass butterfly. Spinning a new cocoon from high self-silk. Maat, she's peering over my shoulder, smiling and scribing my lessons of solitude on the skin of my cocoon. Guiding my lessons of balance like Yemaya guides the moon. Each phase is a moment to shift in tune and make my wings stronger, my loop-de-loop smoother as choose of the magic dough. And yeah, I blow trumpets muted when I walk through it. The mother angels are jealous of the music manifested in my shit. It's just the one-man choir is tired of service to the lips. But see, they don't want to build with me. See, they want to stay addicted to animal growls and purrs. Visions blurred, so dreams deferred to the cries of, where did my life go? Awakenings at midlife crisis shakings. But you're right. It's your choice. You's a grown-ass man. You's a grown-ass woman. Well, I'm just an old-ass soul. See, I'll just roll as a lone gunman, alone amongst a million faces in a sweaty room chasing escapism from cubicle lifestyles of working in a cubicle, staring at a glowing cubicle, thoughts enclosed in a cubicle, posting up on signs representing your cubicle. You cubicle head sucker, don't even think of calling me a square. Dude, I'm shapeless, thus adaptable. This statement is actual. I win battles with fear, clearing my sabbatical. It's the dramatical demise of the dunce density. I overstand its position, receiving insights in flight through nights of noble promise. My eyes closed. In darkness perceived the totality. In silence hear the ripples of internal questions become tidal waves of self-awareness. My person loves going surfing. Open my thick vocal curtains, let truth perching on my words play like Hendrix on your nerves, till epiphanies emerge that let you know how absurd it is to believe that the creator is anything other than one's true being. I know what I mean. Do they? If they don't, they haven't let the steam seep in through my cocoon, unclog their pores and flush the dirt of conditionings that gag the spirit and give the body free rein. And we must recognize that the body is caught in the cycle of pleasure and pain. So if the body is allowed free rein and it takes aim, how can we master self, attain balance, and return home to the inner planes, the infinite domain of oneness? Lone gunmanship. I'm a bullet shot from my creator's gun. Red, white, and blue bullseye put a hole in the illusion. The wound bleeds reality, the death of confusion, as I ricochet back from whence I came. My creator and I are one and the same. And we just call that the lone gunman. Wow.
Thank you.
Sama-sama.
The words, like they feel like meditation in my body. Thank you so much for all that you've shared today and all that you're sharing with the world.
Oh, bless up.
How can we find out more if people want to get in touch, or do you have a website or a place that they can go?
Right now, so my website is down at the moment. I'm reconfiguring everything.
Maybe it will be up by the time.
Perhaps. But on my Instagram, Kamau Abayomi, I have two, Kamau Abayomi and Silent Warrior Spirit. Both of those can stay abreast on what's happening.
Great, and we'll post links to those and some of the other things that we've mentioned as well.
Yeah, and Facebook also. So whatever, my name, all my media stuff. I have a YouTube channel, so I'll just come out Abayomi. It's simple.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for spending your precious time with us. As always, you can find links to everything we mentioned in this episode, download our book, and discover so much more over on the blog. We don't believe in selling you things you don't need through this podcast, and so it's made possible with you, our community. If you loved this and would like to fund our show with a monthly donation or join our online group to connect with other listeners, please visit www.thefutureisbeautiful.co and click on Community and Support. Please also share with friends, hit subscribe, and leave us a review so we can grow. Those gold stars really help others find us, so these ideas can spread. Here is to us, creating a beautiful future together. The Future is Beautiful is made by an all-female team working voluntarily or on reduced rates until our listener support grows. If you have been moved by anything you heard here, please donate the equivalent of buying us a drink. All donations make a huge difference to us and will allow us to keep doing this and remain advertising free. Until next time, I leave you with this question. How will you create beauty in the world?